So let's talk about Kyushu. Specifically, we're asking a pretty wild question today. Where in Kyushu can you find Japan's easiest political wins?
Okay, think about this for a second. What if you could actually win an election without a single person ever casting a vote? It sounds like a trick question, right? But believe me, this isn't some hypothetical scenario. It happens, and it happens a lot more than you might think. The winner is already decided before the doors to the polling station even open. So the key to this whole thing is a concept called an uncontested election, or mutohyo in Japanese. And it's exactly what it sounds like. Imagine there are 10 open seats on a town council, but only 10 people, or maybe even just 9, decide to run. Well, that's it. Game over. They all win by default. No need for posters, no debates, and absolutely no voting. All right, so we're going to dive into Kyushu's top 10 easy wins. We've actually got a ranking of places where, it's surprisingly easy to become a council member. And here it is. Just take a look at this list. We've got places from all over Kyushu. Fukuoka, Nagasaki, Saga, all the way down to the Amami Islands in Kagoshima. It's a real mix of remote areas, small towns, you name it. But what we really want to zoom in on is that number 1 spot. So taking the top spot, rank number 1, is Shibuya in Fukuoka Prefecture. Now, when you think of Fukuoka, you're probably thinking of the big, bustling city, right? But the easiest place to win an election there? It's somewhere else entirely. We're talking about a small town called Yoshitomi Machi. And I mean small. The population is only about 6,400 people. And that tiny size, as you can imagine, plays a huge role in how its politics work. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The situation in Yoshitomi Machi in 2023 was so unusual that people started calling it a triple uncontested election. On the exact same day, you had both the mayoral election and the town council election where every single seat was decided without a single vote being cast. Just bam, you're the mayor. Bam, you're on the council. So how in the world was this list even made? You're probably thinking, what's the method here? Well, it wasn't just pulled out of thin air. It's actually based on 3 key things. Okay, first step, they looked at the hard data, just counting the official number of uncontested elections. Simple enough. Second, they dug a little deeper to find what you could call barely there competition. You know, like when there are 10 seats available and only 11 people run for them. It's technically a competition, but barely. And third, and this is pretty cool, they listened to local voices, combing through local news reports and even personal blogs to see what people on the ground were actually saying about the candidate shortage in their hometown. Right, so we've been focused on Kyushu, but, and this is a big but, this is not just a Kyushu thing, not by a long shot. What we're seeing here is just one piece of a much larger puzzle happening all across Japan. 27%. Just let that number sink in for a moment. It might not seem like much on its own, but when we're talking about elections, it is a huge deal. So, what is this 27%? That number. That is the share of all town and village council elections in Japan that were completely uncontested between 2019 and 2023. Let me say that again. More than a quarter of these elections had no vote because there weren't enough candidates. Suddenly, what's happening in that small town in Kyushu doesn't seem so isolated anymore, does it? Okay, so we've got all this data, we've got the examples, but it all leads to the big so what question. I mean, really, why should we care? If the jobs get filled anyway, what's the big deal? What do we actually lose? Well, the difference is night and day. Look, with a real competition, you, the voter, have a choice. Ideas and policies get debated out in the open. Politicians actually have to answer to you to get your vote. It gets people involved. But when you take away the competition, that choice is already made for you. Public debate just disappears. Accountability gets weaker. And pretty soon people start thinking, why bother? Because in an uncontested election, their vote literally doesn't get cast. And really, that's the core of it. This isn't about making elections more exciting or having some political drama to watch. The crucial point is this. When an election is uncontested, the very opportunity for voters to choose is just gone. It's erased completely. So, to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with this one final thought. Because this trend, it's not really about a lack of politicians. It's about a lack of representation. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, when the candidates just disappear, what happens to the community's voice?